Welcome to the Leadership Lounge, where real leaders spill the real tea. I'm Cindy Hook, and every week we're pulling back the curtain on the wins, the stumbles, and the wild ride to the top. From bold ideas to behind-the-scenes lessons, it's all here, unfiltered, inspiring, and full of real-world wisdom. So grab your coffee, get comfy, and let's dive in. Hello, and welcome to the Leadership Lounge. I'm Cindy Hook, and this podcast is all about honest conversations, the kind where we trade polished speeches for real stories. Leadership, after all, isn't lived in press releases or LinkedIn posts, but in the messy, meaningful moments that define us. Each episode will sit with leaders who've walked the walk, stumbled, and stood up again, and see what we can all learn from their journey. Today, I am so excited to have Mark Hatch, founder of the Nest Group and Informa. And I'll let you explain exactly what you do, Mark, but I am so excited to have you on this show. I know you're with me here in hot Arizona, and we're surviving. But
we're surviving. Yeah, no, hot Arizona, it's great. Don't deal well with the cold, so I'm happy to be here. Yeah, thanks so much. It's great to be here, Cindy, and appreciate the opportunity. So I actually work with Informa, Vice President Trade Relations with them, and then I founded a restaurant chain executive support group called the Nest about 2 years ago. So it's, I think, YPO, but for restaurant chain executives.
So if you're an operator, you can join. Can you elaborate a little bit more on that for our listeners?
Yeah, so I was just having conversations with restaurant chain executives, and they needed kind of a safe space to come together and take on the industry challenges collectively as a group. And so I branded it, created a website. We started meeting virtually once a month for an hour and just working as a group to kind of overcome the pain points of the industry. And that started 2 years ago. Started just with a CIO group of about 30 members. Now we're at about 400 members and hoping to get to about 1,000 by next year. So it's evolving into, I think it'll evolve into the most powerful networking group of restaurant chain executives here in the next couple of years. So I'm excited about it.
Is there any requirements that, you know? Yeah. Okay. So if they own one restaurant, or do they have to own multiple restaurants?
Yeah, multiple restaurants. I would say 10 plus locations, all the way up to the really big guys, the Yum Brands of the world. So and need to be either C-suite or head of their department. So either CIO or head of IT, VP of ops if they're a smaller brand, but that's head of ops. So those are just the requirements. And then just come with a willingness to share and to participate and to help build it. We don't want slackers. They got to have skin in the game, but yeah, if they meet the qualifications, we'd love to have them.
Oh my God, I'm sure I have a bunch of those in my pocket. So that's awesome. I'm going to market you if that's okay.
Yeah, I love it. Yeah, thank you.
So let's dive into these questions. Was there a particular moment or turning point when you realized I've made it into leadership? What did that feel like?
I mean, it's a lot of blood, sweat, and tears, right? I mean, I'm always kind of striving for additional promotions and leadership opportunities. Probably happened a few years ago when I became VP. It was right after the pandemic. Things were kind of chaotic, and I got the call that they were promoting me. And it was a feeling of excitement. It was a feeling of trepidation, just because I knew the responsibility that was coming and what was going to be required of me. But probably at that moment, I felt like I'd kind of arrived. And then just after building these Nest groups, a couple of years into it now, and just expanding that network and moderating these calls with 30 CMOs from big restaurant chains, that's kind of when I felt like I kind of hit my stride, if you will.
That's awesome. That's awesome. What challenges or setbacks that really tested you, and how did you get through it?
I got fired. This was probably, I'm being very vulnerable here. That's what it's all about, right?
Yes,
it's a safe space. No one's going to tell or share this.
Please, no. This is what the listeners want to hear. I mean, yes.
No, honestly, it was a blessing in disguise. I was working. This was probably about 11 years ago. I was working with this a really small manufacturing company. A buddy kind of enticed me. I'd been in education for 10 years with the same company, kind of hit the ceiling. So he said, why don't you come over and try this out? We're going to grow this. We're pretty excited about it. There's maybe an opportunity for equity. The pay seemed decent. And so I took the jump, and I quickly realized that it just was not a fit. Heavy micromanagement. The owner was sitting right next to me, and just after every call, he would critique. And I just wasn't myself, it wasn't a fit for them either. And I ended up getting fired. I was just shocked. I'd never been fired before, but I came home. I was just recently married, so then I got to go back to the in-laws and say, "Hey, here's your son-in-law that doesn't have a job. So much for being a provider, right?" And anyways, but it ended up being a good thing because I knew that there was something better that was coming.
Mm-hmm. I'm a true believer in fail forward. If we're not failing, we're not growing. So, I mean, that is an amazing story, truthfully, if I'm going to be candid, I have gotten fired at my very first job out of college. And believe it or not, it was in logistics, not even what I do now. And if I probably didn't get fired at that job, because my next job was a recruiter. So, you know what I'm saying? And now we're 26 years later. So, look, right? You never know. Yeah. In hindsight, what do you think people don't see about leadership from the outside?
I would say it just takes a lot of work to be a good leader. There's just so much that's required to show up every day and to engage with your team and to stop and listen, to figure out what are their struggles, and then go back to the drawing board and figure out, what you can do to make them better and excel in their roles, and to just make them feel confident about themselves and the opportunities and their potential. And so I think there's a lot of people that don't realize, if you really want to be a good leader, and I'm working towards that every day, right? I'm not even close to perfection, but just all the time and energy and maybe a stress that comes with that on the back end as you're engaging or engaging with them and trying to teach them the proper ways to meet their max potential. It's just all the work that's involved on the back end.
Yeah, I love that. What do you wish more young professionals in the industry understood about what it takes to grow a career?
One thing that I would suggest and encourage them to do right away, and this is one regret that I have when I first got in to a career and started working, was do something outside of your job responsibility. So, you first get with a company and it's all laid out before you, and this is what you need to do to be successful in this role, and do all those things. Mm-hmm. Don't just talk the talk, but anyone can throw out an innovation, but it's hard to execute. So be that person that executes every single time. But not only that, think outside of the box. Like, what could you do that's different, that'll help the company and specifically drive revenue, and experiment with that. Don't go completely off, out into the weeds or deviate off track, but think about different ways you can make things better. Do something outside of your normal day-to-day and see what happens, because that distinguishes, or that differentiates you from the other people that are trying to climb the ladder and trying to get to those leadership positions. So it's a little scary, but do it. I wish it would have been a little bit more innovative and taken some chances early on.
Oh my God. That is incredible advice. I love that advice right there. Can you recall a time when a hiring decision completely changed the trajectory of your team, for better or for worse?
Yeah, this one's a negative experience. We hired a guy at an education company that I work for. And the interesting thing is, like, he was a dynamic salesperson. Like, the sales part of it, he mastered and he was good at, and he was hitting his numbers and he was driving revenue. And that was great. But he just had a bad attitude. There was always drama surrounding him. He always had an axe to grind with his colleagues. And it just wore everyone down. He was a cancer within the company, and eventually he ended up losing his job. And it was completely avoidable, but he just had a bad attitude.
Yes, yeah. Unfortunately, there are people like out there that are like that. What do you hope people who worked with you would say about you now?
Um, that I was a good guy at the core, that
Mhm.
I treated them with respect and compassion and grace. I like to think that I was an innovative mind.
Mhm.
That again, I mentioned that before. I just thought about other ways that we could approach the business and wasn't
Mhm.
just stuck in doing the norm. I'd like to think that that I had a positive attitude about things. I tend to be pretty optimistic. The glass is always half full, in my opinion.
Mhm.
So hopefully they saw me as an optimist.
Yeah. Wonderful, wonderful. And our final question. One book, one book that changed how you think.
I mean, I'm a religious guy. If I'm going to be honest here, the Bible and the Book of Mormon have changed my life. If we're talking business, the Algebra of Wealth by
Okay.
Scott Galloway, that's a really good one. We're kind of getting into that right now. Just he loves being wealthy, and I'm not. I don't consider myself rich, monetarily speaking.
Mhm.
But it's not just about being able to buy whatever you want. It's about buying freedom. It's about
Yeah.
having the luxury to sleep in if you want to sleep in, not having to report to anybody. You call your schedule. You go on vacation when you want. To me, there's an opportunity cost with work, right? Work is a means to an end. I want to have as much time as I can with my kids, my wife, my family.
Mhm.
At the core, that's what's important to me, and I want to buy that freedom. It's not about buying a nice car or buying a nice house.
Yeah. Oh, I love that. I'm so with you. I actually just published my first book. So we'll see how that goes. But I was pretty excited. I was very excited. But thank you so much. That's a wrap today's episode of the Leadership Lounge. I hope you're leaving with a spark of inspiration and a few ideas worth carrying into your own journey. Be sure to follow us for more conversations that keep the energy going.